Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to the GrowthPlug Podcast. And today I have Ruta with me. I got that correctly, by the way.
Yes, absolutely. Hi, Wilson.
Okay. Hi, Ruta. Nice to have you on the call. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fabulous. What about you?
I'm good. I'm good. The sun is out today, so it's I'm just super happy. Yeah, that just brings the spark, brings a smile to my face. You just see the lovely weather. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. How about you? You're currently in Portugal. How is the weather? How is it there?
Oh, it's absolutely amazing. Like, literally, when I'm looking right now at the ocean, it's a beautiful sunny day. I have an ocean view. I wake up every morning from the bed with an ocean view. I open my eyes and I see the ocean. I'm obsessed with the ocean, if you haven't noticed yet. So it's amazing. I love Portugal. I love life. It's absolutely wonderful.
Definitely, you will love life if you're looking at the ocean. Like that's definitely beautiful, something to see and just I don't know, it has this feeling and a way of making you feel good. I also love water, right? Swimming is like my favorite activity as well. So I think we have yeah, similar affinity for water. Maybe not the ocean, but yeah, I enjoy swimming a lot. Yeah.
Interesting. I'm not really a swimmer. I'm
Mm,
just kind of I love admiring the
mm,
beauty rather than being in it somehow.
okay. So let's start with first let's just get to know you. Can you tell us a bit about who you are, what you do, and what led you to this walk around redefining success? What is this all about? Yeah.
Okay, that's a great question. So, I am originally from Lithuania, and I started my life like a very typical life. I grew up in a loving family, but a family which didn't have much, and I was taught to just, you know, do the typical things in life and study, be a good girl, and find a good job, find a good husband, and all of the typical things, right? And I was doing my best to fit into that box for quite a while until I was 28 years old, until I
Mm,
realized that something was not really clicking for me. I felt like I was living a lie because I felt like I was just not living according to what I actually really wanted. Although I didn't know what I wanted, but my heart was telling me you're not in alignment. Like your life has no purpose. So I kind of hit the rock bottom when I was in a relationship for a long time and I was not happy. I was not happy in my career. And there were a lot of things that were just not clicking, not working. And I felt like I I can't imagine that this is how life is supposed to be like when I'm just 28. Like, what really? If I live another 28 years
yeah.
and it's like this, it's like, ew, I don't want that. So basically, that's when I reached out to my very first coach back in February 2018. And that's when things really started changing dramatically. And in the beginning, it was like step by step by step and really small shifts, but just kind of opening my mind to realities I didn't even know existed, to a vision of who I could become and how my life could look like and feel like that I didn't even dare to dream of. And so, bit by bit by bit, I started understanding how so many of us are trapped in
Yeah.
this box that I used to live in prior to that. And I was like, wait a second, actually, I want to help people to find their own happiness and to find their own purpose and to actually understand who they are and what they want and what they don't want and start clarifying what needs to get done in order to create the life that they actually desire to live. And then essentially redefining success became this overarching umbrella of my work, which was born back in 2019 when I started my
Mm,
coaching business, but then it was evolving over time. And just recently, relatively recently, I realized that actually it's not just a business, it's not just something that I do. In fact, it's much bigger than that. It's it's a mission. And what I realized is that I want the world to be a
Yeah.
happier place. I want people to be happier on a global scale. I want people to really understand that success is not just chasing all the shiny objects and possessions and titles and achievements, but it's far, far, far more about what you feel internally in your
Yeah.
heart. And that if we redefine success this way, then suddenly so many doors start opening, and the universe is also conspiring together with you and building that
Yeah.
vision and, you know, creating that reality that you envisioned before. So that's kind of like a very, very, very condensed version of my story.
Yeah, but it's also though condensed, but I can get I get the message, and I'm sure every other person will get the message. And it's just amazing how most times the things that come out of us, the best of us, happens when we hit that rock bottom, right? Where it's like there's no other place to go down. You're already at the base, right? And from there, inspiration, because you just want a way out, and then you see that way out, and you want other people to see that way out, and you're like, how are you not seeing this? You don't have to be there like this. Okay, so your mission now is helping redefine success. So how would you say success, or what is success now compared to what it was before you went on this journey? What was success like, and what do you think? What would you say it is now to you, and what should it be to
Hmm.
people?
Hmm. So success is different from for everyone.
Yep.
Like I don't try to force my definition of success onto people, but I encourage everyone to think what success really means to them. But not to think in this way that, oh, I need to please my mom and dad,
Mm.
or I need to fit in with my classmates, or I need to make my spouse happy about my salary. Like, it's not about other people, it's far more about you. And
Mhm.
so when I was looking at success in a different way back in the day, it was all about everybody else. It was never about me. I never asked myself, what do I actually want? When do I actually feel successful? Not that, oh, I, achieved a bachelor's degree or something like that, and now I'm supposed to feel successful. But when do I actually genuinely feel successful? And when I started asking myself these questions, I realized that for me personally, success is relationship that I have with myself and the relationships that I cultivate with other people, with my loved ones, with my clients now, and so on and so forth. But it's really about the depth, it's about authenticity, it's
Yeah.
about freedom, it's about the values that I have. But again, every person has different values. For some, maybe it's adventure. For some, maybe
Yeah.
it's authenticity. For some, maybe it could actually be ambition and money, which is completely fair. It's just a matter of like, is this pure and genuine feeling of like, oh my God, this makes me feel so on fire? That to me is what success really means, when you feel successful. Not because you have some kind of a trophy that's standing there on the
Yeah.
shelf and waiting for some beautiful, person to notice it, but it's like, I enjoy life every single day. That's what I want people to feel every single day.
Wow. And I'm sure at this point, some people are envying you because, truthfully, not a lot of people have that where they wake up every day and say, I enjoy life, right? They are going about what they are doing, but is it really what they want to do? And the way I've seen this over time, even as a coach, is whether intentionally or unintentionally, there's this path that has been created that this is what success looks like. I think whoever came up with it probably had the best intention in mind. I'm trying to give that person that, yeah, but over time, a lot of people have locked themselves into that race, into that view that they don't even have time to think beyond that path to really define what are the things that by the time I achieve them, I will really feel successful beyond people, something from within at least. Uh, And you mentioned that you went through a phase where you realized that, okay, this wasn't working for you and you wanted something. What was for you the first, I'll say the first step towards defining, okay, this is what success now looks for me, and this is what I want to chase. I'm done chasing the narrative that has been given to me. So, what is that first step or what was that first step you had to take, and what is the first step people can take towards defining success for themselves?
hmm So the first step that I took, and I think that's a very important phase in the journey, and that is
Yeah.
a cleansing. So kind of cleaning everything that doesn't belong in your life. And what I mean with that, it could be people and relationships. For example, at the time, I was in a relationship that wasn't working
Mm.
for a long time, and there was actually, unfortunately, no way that it was going to work. It was just like we were just dragging the relationship, and it was in a sense a wasted time, and I needed to face that and to go through the uncomfortable, breakup in order to clean that part of my life. And so I usually recommend to start with that, to just clean all of the habits and relationships and friendships and things that you're wasting time on. Maybe you realize that, I don't know, even the food in your fridge is
Mhm.
not something that makes you feel good. There are so many different things that you can clean in your life, including your closet. Like just open your closet and start reviewing, like, do I like what I see? Do I like the clothes that I'm wearing every day? Or is there a bunch of stuff that I actually haven't touched for like 5 years or something like that? And it's a very good like spring cleanse
Mhm.
activity to kind of also clean your mind. And so when you do that, suddenly there's far more space for intuition, for ideas, for opportunities, for inspiration
Yeah.
to actually start realizing what do you actually want. Now that you have a blank slate, now that you have a white paper with nothing on it, now you can actually start envisioning what you want.
That's so powerful. I like the fact, in fact, when you said cleansing, I think the typical things that will come to mind is maybe just relationships, or in quotes, but even to your wardrobe, like your closet, your fridge, that is just so powerful. That requires a lot of self-reflection. And I think that's where it all starts, yeah, right? When you look internally and really see that, okay, this doesn't work for me. I know it's there, I know it's available, but doesn't mean it really works for me. Okay. So internal wealth before external is one of your core principles in what you do, right? You should be wealthy internally before you become externally wealthy. What does internal wealth look like in everyday life? Like what does that look like? How can someone know that they're wealthy internally before they chase the external
Mm.
wealth? Yeah.
Wow, I have a great example of one dear client of mine who has so much. Like he literally in the bank and with, properties and everything, he has so much. He's
Mm.
very wealthy on paper. But internally, he is stressed, he is ungrateful, or he used to be, let's put it this way. He used to be stressed, ungrateful. There was very little joy. Every
Mm.
single day, he would wake up with anxiety. He would wake up with nightmares in the middle of the night, things like that. And so, for me, that is being poor because really, even though you have wealth on paper,
Yeah.
you actually feel very poor. So, to switch it around, then, okay, so how can I be grateful for the things that I do have? Such as an ocean view, such
Yeah.
as your wife, such as the fact that you're healthy and you have a healthy body, such as that you always have more than enough to feed yourself, to pay your rent, or you have, a car to drive, or I don't know, like all of the things that bring you joy, that make you feel excited, that you're passionate about, and so on and so forth. So when you start collecting evidence that actually there are so many things that you can be grateful for and you are actually grateful for, not just you say that you are, but you
Yeah.
actually feel it and you really practice it like deeply, then I swear things really start changing, because that's when you tap into the frequency of abundance, a
Mm.
frequency of wealth, a frequency of freedom, a frequency of joy and unconditional love and peace. And you can actually access that frequency anytime. Like you can be in the most uncertain situation in your life, but just this switch in your mindset, just
Yeah.
this reconnection with your soul can bring you to the feeling of like, oh my God, I actually have it all. Nothing is missing, nothing is lacking. There's absolutely no scarcity. I have everything that I need right now. And from that place, when you start living from that place, when you start making decisions from that place, then everything really starts changing, because suddenly opportunities start showing up.
Amen.
Suddenly people start responding to you differently. Suddenly the conversations you have are different because your energy is different. You're more excited, you're lighter, you're more positive, you're more optimistic, you are more magnetic essentially. And that attracts everything into your life.
Wow. And the thing is, I don't think a lot of people realize that rich people actually cry as well. Just using the example. Yeah, because for most people, it's like once you have all the money in the world in the bank, right? What is your problem? Why are you not happy? But these things happen, I guess, right? Because that is not the true. As much as it's important and we all want it, obviously, we want as much money as possible. But there are some things that are intangible and money cannot buy. Things like peace, joy, gratitude, like you talk about, um, good relationships, just knowing that there are people you can trust. And that is just so like really powerful. And now then let's even talk about the mindset, right? You mentioned the abundance mindset. And some people struggle to get to that mindset because that is to them that's not their reality. How can you tell me to have an abundance mindset when I don't have money in my account? Right. So how can they make that switch from that scarcity mindset to an abundant
Mhm.
mindset, even with things not going around? Because you also mentioned something. By the time your mindset changes, obviously it affects how you view life, your energy, and all of a sudden it starts attracting the things you want. But now you're in a phase where, or in a place where you don't have that much abundance from a physical perspective, and they are struggling like, what do you mean have an abundance mindset? I don't have stuff, right? So how can they make that switch?
That's such an important question and such an important conversation to have, because indeed, I was in the same shoes, honestly. I
Mm.
remember myself when I was like, I know that this is the work that I need to do internally, but I don't understand how. Like, how do I actually feel abundant if I don't feel abundant? So, my first recommendation with this is you don't even have to jump so high as to from feeling in scarcity to
Yeah.
feeling abundant. You can also just feel, I have enough.
Mm.
That already feels different. That already feels like, oh, I have enough. I have enough. I pay my bills.
Yeah.
I have enough. So that already feels safer. It feels more secure. It feels more comfortable. Like your nervous system kind of calms down. So you're no longer in this like fight or flight
Yeah.
situation. Like, okay, when do I have to run or do something about it? It's like, I have enough. Then what I normally also recommend, actually, 2 days ago, I went back to where I used to live 4.5 years ago. And that was a place when I just moved out from Berlin to Portugal. And at the time, I didn't have much money because I was just, a new entrepreneur
Yeah.
and I was barely making any money. So, guess what? I had to live in a trailer for several weeks. And then after that, I had to live in an attic of a Portuguese family's home
It's
with
rough.
parents and dogs. So basically, I had to actually from someone who had a good job as a project manager in Germany, and like everything is fine, and I lived in a nice apartment in the city center of Berlin and so on. Suddenly, I was humbled because I decided to follow my dream of living in Portugal, but I couldn't afford to rent my own place that was kind of
Hmm.
decent. So I had to kind of limit my, expenditure and live in a trailer to begin with, and then live with a family. And so you might ask, so how did you feel
Yeah,
abundant in a situation like that? Because I mean, living in a trailer doesn't sound very,
doesn't sound fun.
abundant.
Doesn't.
Because I can tell you, there was a dry toilet. There was this really crappy shower
Mm.
with these plastic curtains and everything made out of wood by hand, like a very very basic place. Okay, so how did I feel abundant in a situation like that? So that was when I was counting my blessings. I was like, yo, okay, in my bank account, I don't have much. But you know what? I have so many other blessings that
Mm.
I can count. I can count all of the people that I have in my life. I can count all of the support that I receive, either from people or from coaches or from, I don't know, YouTube videos that I watch or from a podcast that I'm listening to. I have a blessing of a healthy body that I don't need to, spend money on my health. I have blessings of my amazing mind
Yeah,
because I have the power to create my life. So basically, I even started journaling. I took a notebook and I started writing things down. Like, okay, apart from the monetary abundance, what are the other things that make me feel abundant? And then when I wrote it down, I was basically reminding myself
yeah,
and repeating that in my head for days and days and days. Whenever I remembered, I was literally reminding myself. And repetition is basically how you
yeah.
kind of rewire your brain. And slowly but surely, it started changing from scarcity to I feel I have enough, to then feeling like, oh my God, I am abundant. Like, look at this view, look at
Yeah.
this beauty, look at all the people that surround me. Like, oh my God, life is amazing. So that would be my answer.
Um, and just I'm just thinking of what you said, moving from like a project manager, right, where you're comfortable and going on this journey that you sent yourself on. And I'm sure everyone was like, what are you thinking? Oh
Oh
my
my gosh.
God. Wow,
My
that
dad, I'm listening. My dad was like, "Are you sure this is crazy? Oh my God." And I don't think until today he's comfortable with my decision. Like it's
yeah.
been 5.5 years now, and it's like, yeah, a lot of people thought I was crazy.
Yeah, because it's not something that like people do. It's not something people just wake up one day and say, okay, this is what I want. I'm going to leave what I currently have and chase it. And maybe if you can walk us through that. So you knew it was time for you to do something different, something you really loved. And then you went to this new city where you didn't have a lot. Let's look at your actions. Like, what did you then do, like almost on a day to day? Because I'm sure when you moved, there was no job, right? I guess there was no like 95. So what were
Yeah.
your actions like? What were you doing that
Yeah.
helped you,
Yeah, that's
yeah, grow?
That's a great question. Yeah. So I didn't have a job. So basically when I decided to quit the corporate, I decided to burn the ships, so to
Mm,
say, and not have a plan B and be like, I am going to do absolutely everything that I can in order to build a business. And the thing is, I have no freaking clue what I'm doing because I don't have anybody in my family, in my surroundings, amongst my friends who are entrepreneurs. So I have to figure it out
yeah,
myself. But the thing is that the internet is a wild place where you will find everything that you need. So my course of action was studying like a mad woman. I was studying all the freaking time. And what that meant was I was studying everything to do with mindset,
Okay.
Everything to do with business, everything to do with social media, everything to do with marketing, everything to do with sales, everything to do with how to feel abundant, everything to do with manifestation, law of attraction, law of assumption, a
Mm.
lot of different modalities. So, and not only that I was studying, I was also taking a lot of action. So I built my own websites from scratch. I learned how to build websites. I learned how to create content. I learned how to work with Canva to create, graphics for my social media. I started posting in March 2020, so now it's more than 5 years. And I started posting on LinkedIn to begin with, and it was the most terrifying thing on earth because I was like, what are my former colleagues
It's great
going
to
to think?
say.
God, like this, ooh, it was really terrifying. But I thought, you know what? That's where I will find my people. Like I didn't want to go on Instagram and all those places for whatever reason, and I thought, you know what? I will push myself and force myself to be, even though it's uncomfortable in the moment, I will do it. I will do it anyway. I will face my fears. And I was
Yeah.
basically, as I was learning, I was applying whatever I was learning in action. And I was constantly facing fears. And not just fears, but also insecurities and
Yeah.
imposter syndrome and anxiety and stress about money and all of these things. But each and every time, as I was facing all of those, I was always kind of reframing like, okay, I'm on the right track. I'm doing the right thing. I'm growing. I'm moving forward. I have more than enough. I have
Mm.
enough. Like I was constantly in this work mode. So even though I didn't have a 9 to 5, but I was busy like hell.
And for me, I like how like you were intentional about the actions you were taking because in that state where you don't have a lot of things like you discussed, a lot of people go into self-pity where they're not even able to do any other thing. So it's like somebody has to come and bring me out of this. Like I'm going to wait. I'm just hoping someone comes around that will help me get out of that. But life happens. We make decisions. And our ability to really, in that moment where we find ourselves, obviously cry a little, but you have to regain composure. You have to go for it and say, okay, this is what I want to do. What can I do today to lead me towards where I want to be? And I really love how you just went through that. And as a business owner, I can also say I can relate with the emotions of you wake up some days and you're like, okay, what exactly am I doing here? What am I supposed to do? Right? But just knowing that you're on the right track. It might not, it won't happen in a day, right? It won't. It takes time. But it's always worth it. Maybe let's talk about what's for you, what's the main difference between being a corporate worker, 9 to 5, and then being an entrepreneur? What is the main, if you have to give, I know probably there are lots of things, but what would you say is the main difference for you?
Have to think for a moment. What's the main one?
Yeah.
I think radical responsibility.
Mm,
Because when I was working as an employee, I was like, well, I just show up at work and I just do the stuff that I have to do and I leave. And that's it. And then I receive the money by the end of the month.
yeah.
But as an entrepreneur, I started realizing that like nobody else will do anything for me ever. It's just never going to happen. So I have to be the leader. I have to lead by example. I
Yeah.
have to be the one. I have to step forward. And then, of course, like you can build a team, you can have a assistant or whatever, but without you leading, none of that will work. Like you won't even be able to delegate your
Yeah.
tasks to anybody if you don't know how to lead yourself and how to take radical responsibility. So I would say that was the biggest one because it's so easy to slip into this like, oh, la la la, like I will just kind of free ride through life
Yeah.
and drift through life and basically kind of see what happens. But with entrepreneurship, you just can't. If you actually want to not just be successful in a sense that you you know make a living, which in itself is a strange phrase. Like, make a living, you're living already. Why would you have to make it? But also because you, as an entrepreneur, you want to actually enjoy the
Yeah.
journey. You want to have fun. You did that. You started doing it because you want it, because it's your passion, because it's something that gives you something,
Yeah.
like a purpose and meaning. So yeah, only with radical responsibility things really start changing.
Yeah, and you mentioned a key aspect of being an entrepreneur, which is leadership, right? Because you're leading, in fact, you're trying to make people see what you're seeing, and you're trying to move them in that direction, right? And I know one of your principles is about leadership being a ripple effect, right? From you it goes. So maybe if you can chip in a thing or two about that, how can you as a leader create that ripple effect that then encompasses everyone around you and beyond?
Yeah. Well, the thing is that what a lot of people don't realize is whether they lead or they don't, they have an effect on other people.
Okay.
We all have effect on other people. So imagine you're invited to a birthday party and you don't show up. You might think that it has no effect, but it does. So your lack of presence has an effect, just as your presence also has an effect. So basically, no matter what you do, if you're negative, you're always complaining, you're always judging people, you're always, shaming others, that has an effect,
Yeah.
as well as if you're really supportive and you're inspiring, if you're leading by example, if you're doing awesome things in the world and you're making the world a better place, that also has an effect. So essentially, no matter what you do, you are an influencer.
Yeah.
Like, you want it or not, you are influencing other people. And so for me, when I realized it, I was like, oh my God, so who do I
Mm,
want to be? Who, like, how do I want to impact other people? Because the ripples are happening no matter what I
regardless.
do. Even even if I die, my non-existence also has a ripple effect.
Yeah.
So basically, no matter what you do or do not do has an effect. And when you realize that, suddenly you're like, oh my God, I will rather do something nice.
Yeah.
I will rather be kind to people. I will rather do something meaningful in this world. I will rather, maybe you want to be an artist and you want to create beauty and you're a painter or a singer and you're like, oh my God, finally I received a permission to do something like that because it actually matters, not just to me,
Yeah.
but to everybody.
Um,
So that's basically what that principle is all about.
and I think that even gives people a new perspective to themselves, how they value themselves. Because if you know that, yeah, my life has like it has an impact regardless. What you need to do is define what that impact is, or nature will just define it for you, right? That feels so empowering because regardless of where you find yourself, you just know there's something for me to contribute to the world. Finally, let's talk about the future, right? We're in this tech savvy world. A lot of young people look up to quite a number of people. Some of them good, some of them not so good. And unfortunately, whether we like it or not, just like you said, there's a ripple effect, right? People are influencing people of different generations. But what do you think people, I mean, maybe just use your creativity. What should people look towards in the coming future for, like, if they have to define success, right, for the new generation? What do you think maybe somebody like me can help them with, or someone like you to have a success that really one gives them peace, right, and also helps them make something out of their life and influence life positively? What can we equip them with to have
Mm,
that kind of mindset or to look towards it? Because I feel like a lot of young folks, and I feel for them, because a lot of people they look up to externally, yes, but if you hear some of the stories behind them, it's not so good. So how can we equip the young generation to actually have success in the way you've described it in the coming
Yeah.
future? Yeah.
Ooh, this is quite a question, I
Use
have
your
to say, Wilson.
imagination.
So I would say the first thing I would say is taking those people that people are looking up to down the pedestal,
Mm,
because a lot of the time we tend to put people on a pedestal,
yes.
imagining that who they are and what they do is like, oh my God, I have to be like them. And they have this illusion
Yeah.
that they are someone who they probably are not. So just to begin with, you know what? They're actually like any other human being. If you imagine that person that he or she probably is also pooping every day,
Yeah.
and they're probably also sometimes having a mental breakdown and probably sometimes crying and maybe getting angry, then you start realizing, oh, they're not perfect and they're also actually just human. So I would say that's the first stage, to just realize that there's no need to put people on a pedestal because we're all human at the end. I would say the other step that would be helpful is to realize that, kind of with the principles of redefining success, that what looks really amazing, like maybe somebody is just showing off all these
Yeah.
clothes and cars and lots of money and travels and stuff like that. But often, especially in the current world with social media, we have this image as if, it's all about all these shiny objects, but we don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. And so that's exactly the trap that I mentioned earlier with a lot of my clients who have chased all of these
Yeah.
shiny objects without actually feeling great within themselves. So just realizing that what people see on social media or anywhere really in real life as well, oftentimes it's just a tiny, tiny, tiny portion of the full picture. It's just a tip of the iceberg. And so just having that awareness, and with this, then kind of tuning your radar for
Yeah.
authenticity,
Mm,
which is a bit of a tricky one, I would say, especially in the beginning. It's hard to notice who is
yeah.
authentic and who is just performing, who is actually real and raw and genuine, and who is more like, everything is fine all the time and they're just, being great actors. So, but with time, you start becoming more and more sensitive and you start noticing that, well, this person actually is inconsistent, or this
Mm,
person is actually just too perfect and
yeah.
it's not realistic. So you start having this critical thinking and you start noticing these discrepancies that start making you feel like, huh, I
But
think I don't really trust their credibility because it seems like everything is just too good to be true. So usually when you see somebody who presents themselves as if it's too good to be true, then usually it's not really true.
mm, wow. And these are really good points, good things to look out for. Like you said, we're all humans. Yes, some people, in quote, look more successful, but do not forget that we are humans at the end of the day. So don't put people in that God mode where you feel like, oh my God, I want to be like this. Thank you so much for all the contributions. This has been wonderful. Just hearing you share so much around redefining success. I read something on your website that I found really interesting. You said it's not just a business you're building, it's a movement. And I loved that, right? Because if people think that way, you talked about academic curriculum, like people should think this way. And I really hope this movement grows like so big because it will lead to a lot of positive impact. So thank you for all you do. Um, Finally, before we go, first of all, how do you relax when you're not working? You look like you have a lot, like you have fun. So maybe if you can tell us one. And then secondly, how can people reach out to you if they want to connect with what you're doing?
Sure. Thank you so much for inviting me. And indeed, it's no longer just a business, it is a movement. And I want everything that we spoke about
Yeah.
today in this conversation to be the norm so that people have these kind of conversations far more. And it's not just about what they watch on Netflix, and it's not just about what they saw on social media, but it's these deep conversations that they
Yeah.
have with each other, and the real raw stuff. And I want this to be indeed in education systems. I want people to, like, basically I want children to start learning about their emotions, about their dreams, about what they actually want early on. And I want these kind of conversations also to be in board
Yeah.
meetings in big corporations and so on and so forth. So it's that's why it is a movement, and I'm really excited to be on this movement. When it comes to relaxation, I do relax a lot, but at the same time, I also work a lot. So
Mm.
it's kind of like this, I find the balance.
Yeah.
My way of relaxing is I love hiking.
Oh.
And because I live in this beautiful environment with the ocean and cliffs and stuff like that, I just love getting out and moving. And that actually, for anybody listening, scientifically speaking, even movement enables your brain
Yeah.
to actually come up with more ideas. So when you're stagnating, when you're just sitting around and working way too hard and way too long, it's actually limiting your capacity to welcome new ideas and new opportunities in your mind. So that's what I do. I love moving. I love nature. I love discovering. I love people having conversations. I love, just studying stuff. Lots of different ways to relax, but those are the main ones. And to the last point, the
Yeah.
way people can find me is my website is called redefiningsuccess.co.uk. And there they can find all the links to my YouTube channel, to LinkedIn, to Instagram. My name is Ruta Stasyunaiti, and you can find me everywhere under this name.
Hey, thank you so much. And I'll drop the links when the episode goes live so they can easily find you and yeah, check you out. So thank you so much for making our time for this. It's been wonderful. And yeah, I'll just say keep doing what you're doing, keep growing the movement, and we're cheering for you. Go, 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 go.
Well, you too, Wilson. You're also on a mission, and I'm so
Yeah.
excited for you as well. And I'm also really, 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 really happy that you have also started your coaching business and you're doing something great for the world. And, having this podcast and having these kind of conversations, raising awareness about
Yeah.
these topics, is absolutely amazing. So I'm cheering on you as well.
Thank you. And to our listeners, thank you so much for joining us today. Just keep learning, keep growing, and we'll connect again some other time. Bye for now.